Good afternoon, Norman. Thanks for joining us.
Coming up, the new mayor of Norman will be elected today.
And a new state law could make a Cleveland County jail more crowded.
And the Sooner receives Big 12 and national honors. We'll tell you who it is in sports.
And clear skies are already letting temperatures warm up into the 70s.
News, weather, and sports.
All headed your way right now on Norman Today.
Good afternoon. I'm Robbie Gunn.
And I'm Faith Johnson. Today, the voters of Norman will decide who will be the next mayor for 3 years. The candidates are Danny McIntyre and Bob Thompson. Both candidates qualified for the runoff election that was on March 17th. Residents can go to regular polling places in order to vote. Some of these places include St. Thomas More Church, Kennedy Grade School, and Sooner Fashion Mall near the mall office. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The runoff election for the Norman mayoral race is today. Candidates Bob Thompson and Danny McIntyre say the spending is near $50,000. The two men also said they raised more than $53,000 according to campaign expense and contribution reports filed at City Hall. Bob Thompson reported almost $29,000 in contributions. Danny McIntyre reported almost $25,000 in contributions. The polls are open today from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m.
Law that mandates some prison inmates be housed in county jail instead of state prison could cost the county and taxpayers more money. Norman Today's Julie Prince asks how the law will affect the county's budget.
A new state law mandates certain prison inmates serve their time in county jail instead of the state prison. The community sentencing law could provide more choices to the county in sentencing its offenders.
The community sentencing component in its purest form is a wonderful idea. It would provide additional sentencing options to a judge, and that's what community sentencing should be about, and that's what we have made it about in Cleveland County.
The Community Sentencing Planning Council recently proposed a budget of more than $11 million to the Department of Corrections. Some of the council members say this money is needed to meet the demands of the new state law that mandates community sentencing.
If under this legislation we're going to have to retain more offenders, then there will be an increased cost to the county. One of our resources that we're lacking in is incarceration space.
A large portion of whatever money they give us is going to go to paying to house those people who Cleveland County used to send to prison and will not be able to send to prison under the current law.
That is probably the one resource that could increase the cost to the citizens.
Jail is overcrowded, has been overcrowded, over capacity.
If the Planning Council's budget request is not approved by the state legislature, the county will have to pay for the plan out of its own budget.
I think you can tell a judge that 8 months into the program, 8 months into the 1 year fiscal budgeting, that we don't have any more money, you can't send anybody else to jail.
If the plan is not fully funded, some of the costs may have to be paid for by Cleveland County taxpayers. Julie Prince, Norman Today.
The money appropriated for the plan is based on population and land area.
City Council will meet tonight at the Norman Public Library in the Lowry Room. Items on the agenda include extending funds for East Main Place, new golf carts, and a public hearing on the plan to spend grant funds. Members are expected to award the bids for 13 new golf carts for Westwood Golf Course. Also, April 12th through the 18th will be named Community Development Week. The Norman City Council will consider extending funds for East Main Place. East Main Place has received a supportive services grant which has paid for a portion of housing care, but the money does not pay for general operations and maintenance at the shelter. The council will consider the amount not to exceed $130,000 from the general balance fund. East Main Place is a homeless shelter which houses approximately 480 people per year.
The Job Training Partnership Act received approval to operate through the year 2000 within Cleveland County. The JTPA has more than 600 people enrolled, which pays for tuition and books for adults seeking community college training. But federal funding for the program is expected to decline this year 4 to 6%. Elementary, my dear Watson. It may sound like the title to a children's Sherlock Holmes novel, but it's not. It's a new tutoring program that's recently entered Norman elementary schools. Norman Today's Denise Woods shows us how the program is getting kiddos hooked on the internet.
Instead of running for recess on Friday afternoons, these children at Lakeview Elementary race for computers. Lakeview has started a new tutorial program that not only helps students in reading and math, but trains young minds on how to use the internet. One co-founder and tutor in the program, Chad Osborne, says that how to work the computer isn't the only thing the children learn.
Basically two things. One, how to use a computer. We're teaching the students how to go into a computer, get the software program they need, get on the internet and search for something. And then they're also learning about whatever it is they search. She's looking at Beaner Babies right now.
The children see working on computers as fun and exciting. But with computers becoming a very common part of everyday life, the volunteers know that their help will one day add up to valuable experience.
Not only are the computers used as educational tools, but a chance for children to look around and do those things that they like to do for free time.
Different names of motorcycles.
You like motorcycles a lot?
And sharks.
And sharks?
Mm-hmm.
What type of things do you like to do on the computer?
Play Star Wars games.
Do you try to play games here also?
We sometimes play them on our computer in our classroom.
Mr. Osborne also says that the environment of computers can actually help students learn.
Students need to learn from a very young age how to work on the computer, and they need to learn computer ethics and so forth. And there's no better way to get them into computers than by a fun educational way to learn. There's a lot of things you can look up on the internet and teach them how to learn things in a fun way where a lot of students wouldn't pay attention if a teacher was lecturing in a classroom.
The tutoring program is gradually expanding. Denise Wood, Norman Today.
Lakeview Elementary School was the first elementary school to get the program. A program at Cleveland Elementary School was just opened last week.
A new bill will ensure Oklahomans' first chance at organs donated in the state. Senate Bill 1087 is in the response to a federal move to create a national organ network. Governor Frank Keating says this will prevent available organs from leaving Oklahoma unless a suitable transplant recipient is not found in our state. The director of the Oklahoma Organ Sharing Network and Keating say this is a decision that should have been made by health officials, not by Washington bureaucrats. Measures to regulate body piercing, encourage driver's education in schools, and speed AIDS testing won approval in the State House Monday. House Bill 2547, the body piercing bill, passed 93-3. It now goes to Governor Frank Keating. House Bill 1429, the driver's education bill, passed 89-9. House Bill 2570, the sex offender AIDS testing bill, passed 98-0.
Kyle Beatty is in the Weather Center putting the final touches on his forecast. Kyle?
Well, it looks like temperatures are warming up fast already today, and with those fast warming temperatures, we could see a little severe weather develop this afternoon. Have a look at where that severe weather could be in a few minutes.
When the heavens thunder, when the nation calls, you can make a difference and be a part of it all. If you're able to pay the price, you can. Willing to sacrifice, you can. Adventure, helping, service in the Army National Guard, you can.
Find yourself in the Army National Guard, serving 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, and you'll find an extra paycheck, money for college, and all the adventure you can handle. It's a great way to serve your country and community. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD.
If you're ready to pass the test, you can. An American at your best, you can. Adventure, helping, service in the Army National Guard. In the Army National Guard, you can.
It's only a little motor oil.
What difference is one drop of paint going to make?
This much fertilizer isn't going to pollute anything.
You're looking at a sea of excuses, created drop by people like you and me. Our waters can be saved if each of us does their part. Drop by drop. If we all do a little, we can do a lot. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Defense Council, the EPA, and the Ad Councils of the U.S. and Japan.
My son, Daku, was riding a motorcycle when he was struck by a car. I had spoken to him previously about donating his organs, and it made it so much easier for me to make the decision. I knew that this is something that he wanted. I didn't have to feel guilty about making the decision, doing something that he may not have wanted. Every day I tell people, talk it over. You must let people know what you want.
Kyle, it's just been beautiful weather the last couple of days. Is there any chance that this weather's going to stick around?
Stick around for today. There's going to be some changes, though, later on in the week. But for today, we could see some thunderstorms this afternoon as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at those temperatures today. Right now, we're up to 73 degrees, and that's going to be moving its way on up towards the 80s by the afternoon. Humidity is 62%. Pressure is 29.77 inches of mercury, and it is steady. And the winds are out of the south at 18, and they are gusting into the 20s. So the wind is a little strong out of the south, and that's helping to bring more moisture into our area, and that's going to bring our relative humidity even higher as we go towards the afternoon. We should be at about 72 degrees for our average high. We're going to be well above that today, just like we were yesterday. Actually, I think we'll be about 8 degrees above that today, nowhere near the record of 82, and record low is 27, so we can still sink below freezing this time of year, but I don't think we'll see any more freezing temperatures this year. But it is possible. But we do average temperatures above freezing for lows. Off to our east, off to our west, I should say, low pressure system. It'll be moving its way on eastward, and it could cause some thunderstorms in our area. Our dry line right now is located right around Altus and right around the Altus Woodward line, just a little bit west of here. As it begins to move further eastward, we could see some severe weather develop. It looks like most of it will be well to our west, though, right around Tulsa. They could see some of the strongest thunderstorms there. So it should be well to our west, and the reason is air about 5,000 feet up is a lot warmer here than it is off to our east. And so that warmer air in our area are going to hold those thunderstorms down. It's not going to let them develop, but off to the east, they could see some storms develop there, and as well on up towards around Kansas City, Wichita, they could see some strong thunderstorms there. So if you're heading up either I-35 or even 44 towards Tulsa this afternoon, you might want to keep your eyes to the skies and see if there are any thunderstorms out there, because there is a potential this afternoon. Further west, some higher elevation snowfall and a little bit of rain up in towards Montana, and some coastal showers as well. Temps across the nation looking pretty good, though, along the southern sections. Throughout Texas and Oklahoma, we should see highs today into the 80s. And even a few 90s down there in extreme southern Texas, but 80s will come as far north as right around, let's say, through Enid and even over towards Tulsa. Temperatures should be right around 80 there, but there is cooler air off to our west, so as that low pressure system begins to move eastward, that cooler air will start to come down, and temps look like they will be below normal for the next few days. So that's not the best of news. Might have to enjoy today while we have a chance. Highs across the state, as I said, low 80s across much of the southern sections. 83 in McAllister, 84 in Ardmore. Guyman, the coolest spot, 77 for high today, but that's still above normal. Lows tonight sinking into the 50s for much of the southern sections, 50 in Lawton and Norman, 55 in Ardmore, and a few lower 50s as we go to the northwest, with or lower 40s, I should say, with 45 in Gage. Today, just about as good as it gets with a high of 80 degrees. Winds will be a little strong, but today looks like a good day to go ahead and skip out in the afternoon part of the work week if you can. Go ahead and get out of there after, at least take a nice lunch break outside. 80 degrees for high today. As we go into the overnight hours, cooling down a little bit. As I said, we do have a chance of thunderstorms late this afternoon into the evening, but most of that should be off to our east. But a few clouds will be around tonight, low of 50 degrees, and a southwest wind 7 to 12. And the next 5 days are showing that cooling trend as we go towards Wednesday and Thursday. Few clouds around on Thursday, but we should stay below normal for the next 5 days. No chances of rain, but highs in the 60s are quite a bit cooler than we've been used to the last few days.
Yeah, but we can still handle that as long as it doesn't go into the 50s.
Yeah, as long as there's no rain, we can handle it.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Coming up on Norman Today Sports.
There's plenty of high school action on the diamond. Chris Fitzpatrick has the details next.
Stay with us.
to help you see what lies ahead, what you want to be. Hands need hands, a hand to reach.
Kids today need extra help to stay in school. Communities in Schools brings hands in need together with hands that can help.
Get ready!
Adventure training in the Army National Guard. When we move fast. When we train hard. If you're up to the challenge, we'll make it worth your while. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD.
Chris Fitzpatrick joins us now with sports. So I understand a couple of records were achieved this weekend in OU baseball.
Yep, the coach and one of the pitchers, one of the starting pitchers, got a couple honors this week. With a victory over Kent State on Friday, Larry Koshel became one of only a few men to win 1,100 games. That game also served as history for Sooner pitcher Jeff Geary. Geary is the Big 12 Conference Pitcher of the Week and is one of collegiate baseball's national players of the week. Geary struck out a career-high 15 batters against the Wildcats and set a league record, striking out 6 in a row. He was one short of the conference record of 16 strikeouts after being pulled before the 9th inning. His 15 Ks are the most by a Sooner hurler since current Texas Ranger pitcher Bobby Witt struck out 17 back in 1985. OU sweep of Kansas State didn't help them in the rankings, however. According to Collegiate Baseball, Oklahoma is the 14th best team in the nation. Miami is the top team, followed by Stanford and LSU. Baylor gets the Big 12 in the top 5 as the Bears move up a couple of spots. And another top 25 team will pay a visit to Norman this evening. OU will host the 11th-ranked Arizona State Sun Devils. ASU enters the contest with a 27-14 record, while the Sooners come in with a 29-8 mark. First pitch is at 7 o'clock at the Dale. And there was some high school action around the diamond on Monday. The Norman North Timberwolves hosted the Dell City Fighting Eagles last night. Norman North got off to a 3-0 start before the Eagles tied it up and eventually won back the lead and the game 5-4 by scoring the game-winning run in the top of the 7th. Troy Mallory is handed the loss to drop to 1-4 on the season. Kenneth Cox did his part at the plate for the Wolves, knocking in a couple of runs on a couple of hits. The T-Wolves try to get revenge tonight as they travel to Dell City to take on those same Eagles. First pitch is set for 6 o'clock. And Norman High was also in action last night. The Tigers traveled to Moore to do battle with the Lions. Norman got on top in the first inning, but Moore took the lead in the bottom of the inning and would hold on late after the Tigers managed to tie it up in the 5th. The Lions win 5-3. Jim Dow is the losing pitcher for Norman. Patrick Kay came up with one of Norman's 6 hits with an RBI double. The Tigers will face the Lions again tonight. This time, Moore will come to the one and only Tiger Stadium to try and sweep Norman in 2 games. That game is scheduled for a 6 o'clock start. And the women's golf team returns from Paradise. That's not correct, sorry. The Norman North Tigers soccer teams are in action tonight. The Yukon Millers travel to Alcott Middle School tonight to try and stop the Red Hot Tigers. The boys tied the Edmond North Huskies last Friday night, and as always, the boys lace up their boots at first at 6 p.m., and the girls demolished the Huskies last Friday. That score was 6-0. The two teams kick off tonight at 8 p.m. And that's it for sports.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Norman Today.
The new peace accord in Northern Ireland leads to a change in their famous marches.
Stay with us.
This is who I am.
I am rich. I am poor. I am middle class. I am a boy.
I am a girl.
I am a girl.
This is who I am.
This is who I am.
I am from the city.
I am from the country. This is who I am.
This is who I am. I am. I know exactly what I want to do.
I know exactly who I want to be.
I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea
what I want to do.
I have no idea
who I want to be. This is who I am.
No matter who you are or where you're from, the United States Air Force may be the place for you to learn, to grow, and to be successful in life. We can help you. You can help us.
I have potential.
I have potential.
My future is unlimited.
I am somebody. I am somebody.
I am somebody.
How do you stop child abuse? Simple. Never let it start. Now there's a program that can help do just that. It's reaching new parents early on, teaching them how to cope with the stresses that lead to abuse. It's achieving unprecedented results. But we need your help. Imagine if we all pulled together what we could have. Call 1-800-CHILDREN today, because the more you help, the less they hurt.
This is not a drill.
Roger, have target in sight.
This is what we do
Swimmer away.
every day in the Coast Guard. Battling the elements to save lives is just one of the real missions we tackle.
Swimmer checking victim. Coming up.
Be part of the action in the Coast Guard. Call now toll free.
Welcome back to Norman Today. I'm Faith Johnson.
And I'm Robbie Gunn. A blessing comes out of a tragedy despite all the damage and destruction that followed. A tornado in Missouri passed over about 20 occupied trailers Monday to destroy 8 to 10 abandoned ones. It did hit 2 trailers with people inside, but they only suffered minor injuries. In addition to the damage at the mobile home park, the tornado struck a warehouse. Roofs were damaged with windows broken. No serious injuries as a result of the storm have been reported. An Amtrak passenger train collides with the derailed Conrail cars in Conway, Pennsylvania rail yard today. About 17 of the 140 passengers were injured. The train was traveling from Chicago to New York when it collided with the Conrail just west of Pittsburgh. The Conrail locomotive was assembling a freight train when 4 of the cars derailed. 7 of the Amtrak train's cars derailed upon impact.
The Clinton administration plans to unveil an aviation plan today. The safety plan is an attempt to make the skies safer by reducing the fatal accident rate by 80% over the next decade. Vice President Al Gore was scheduled to announce proposals to require more rigorous engine inspections and the mandatory installation of enhanced ground warning systems within the next 3 years. Currently, there is about 1 major accident per 1 million flights. The Dow Industrials bounced back above 9,000, shaking off early losses with help from a new round of mergers. Banking shares rose broadly after Nations Bank and Bank America announced plans to create the nation's first coast-to-coast bank. And First Chicago, NBD, and Bank One say they would merge and create a dominant Midwest bank.
In keeping with last week's peace accord, Protestant marchers are keeping away from Catholic neighborhoods. Monday marked the beginning of the marching season in Ireland. The start of the marching season demonstrates the kind of retreats that will be required for the peace agreement to survive the coming months. The Start to Arms Control Treaty to Russia's parliament is likely to be ratified by President Boris Yeltsin. The amendments have been requested by Russian negotiators and have been approved by the United States. The treaty would have the strategic nuclear arsenals of the United States and Russia. The U.S. Senate ratified it in 1996, but the lower house of Russia's parliament has so far refused to approve it. Coming up in our final segment of Norman Today,
we'll tell you about a bank that takes a different approach with its customers.
Stay with us.
Statistics show that the average person over a lifetime has 75,302 dreams, 3.8 surprise parties, 563 pairs of socks, and 8.6 different jobs. Is educated by 39.7 teachers, laughs 1.5 million times, finds $8.15 in the sofa, tries 12 different hairstyles, plays 6.4 sports, and owns 3.5 pets. But the average person only has one life, so why mess it up with drugs? A message of 29.3 seconds from a drug-free Navy and Marine Corps.
Where's dinner?
Well, I thought you'd be home a couple of hours ago, and I put everything away. So
What is this? Pizza?
You had just called me. I would have known what.
Dinner ready is pizza.
Honey, please don't be so loud. Please don't. Let go of me!
Get in the kitchen!
No! That hurts.
Do you want to see what hurts? That's what hurts! That's what hurts!
Oh, please! I can't. Please.
For information, call 1-800-END-ABUSE.
Though small town banks are disappearing, they aren't completely gone.
There are some banks where business is done the old-fashioned way.
Middleburg Bank President Joseph Bowling knows a lot of his customers by name, and he knows what they do for a living.
The Bank of Middleburg is a community bank, and it's community-owned. It has all the modern trimming, machine, and something more.
The bank has been there for 74 years, almost taken over by a big chain once.
Customers know their tellers, tellers know their customers.
And in this small town, customers wouldn't have it any other way. So Kyle, the weather's going to be cooling down for us the next couple of days.
Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 5-day, and I'll show you that weekend forecast. It's going to be cooling down tomorrow, but not so much. A little cloudy, but the highs will be in the mid-70s. But then Thursday and Friday, that cooler air comes in. Low 60s for highs, and it doesn't warm up much Saturday or Sunday. Closer to normal by Sunday, but still a little bit below normal. No rain in the forecast, though. That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and anything coming up in sports?
Well, Norman High baseball team plays tonight at 6 o'clock, and the Norman North team is on the road, so if you want to catch some baseball at Norman. And then Oklahoma baseball team tonight plays another ranked opponent, Arizona State, ranked 11th, we mentioned earlier. That should be a good game. They played earlier this year. I think they split. And so that game is tonight at 7 o'clock, and come out there. It should be nice weather, as mentioned earlier. And tomorrow we'll have Bedlam tennis. We've been covering the tennis team a lot, actually, lately. So we'll give you a little preview of that. So go watch baseball tonight. It should be fun.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
We want to thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
It's only a little motor oil.
What difference is one drop of paint gonna make?
This much fertilizer isn't gonna pollute anything.
You're looking at a sea of excuses.